up, everyone? Welcome to Let's Talk Markets with Dave Lauer. I am your resident smooth brain Pink, and we've been on a little bit of a hiatus for the last few weeks, so it's really good to be back with you. Thank you for joining us today. Dave, how was your break?
It was nice. Do I look tan? I don't
you
know.
do.
Probably not.
You're a little
I'm
bronzy.
Yeah, I really stand out up here in Canada, but maybe to everyone else in the world who gets a normal amount of sunshine, I just look pale still. But no, it was great.
It looks like you touched grass, like actual grass.
I did. I really disconnected. I touched sand. I touched ocean. Slashed my foot open on a piece of coral.
No, that's not what we did. But...
That was not cool. Kids had a great time. We did all sorts of stuff. I went to an island, then we did a road trip later on. I was in Boston this weekend. We saw a game at Fenway. That was so much fun. Have you been to a game at Fenway? It's a special experience.
I'm from the South, so I have been to like Texas Rangers and Houston Astros, things like that. But that's a lot of fun.
I lived in Boston and I've lived in Chicago, and between there I lived in New York. So and I'm from Philly. So I've been to these great stadiums, but like Fenway and Wrigley are so cool. But I like Fenway is really, I lived in Boston for a long time. I saw a lot of Sox games. I was there in 2004 when they won the World Series. So here's a fun fact about me. I have in my life been in 2 riots. And
Dave Lauer?
Yeah.
Stop the presses.
2 riots. The first was in Spain, and that was a weird one, and I had no idea it was going on. But the second one was closer to on purpose. When the Sox won in 2004, I walked from where I was living in Cambridge down to Fenway, and it was just the biggest party.
Molotov in your hand, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like ready to chunk it.
But both riots, in fact, I maybe I'm attuned to the riot. I've known when to leave. And the Fenway riot, I ducked out as the line of riot police were marching in. You know what? Actually, yes. So we've got this little chat. One of our writers, Dave here, is saying that's the Philadelphian in me that knows when to get the fuck out. But it's funny you say that, because now actually there was a third incident that I remember having to do with the Sixers. And I think, Dave, you were there for that. I wouldn't call it a full-blown riot per se, but it was after a playoff game in 2001 where all the fans, we were going crazy. It was the Bucks when, the motorcycle, right? So we were walking out of the arena, and there were a lot of people, and we see this line of police, Philadelphia police, and motorcycles go by. And then they turn, and then they come back and as a line, and then they suddenly just turned right into the crowd, and it was crazy. And we were
ambushed.
We had to jump out of the way of these crazy motorcycle cops. I'm
seeing a common denominator here. Dave's like, I just happened to be at this riot. Oh yeah, and there was like 5 other riots. I just happened to be there.
I didn't even remember that one. That was actually the first one. Yeah,
that may mean you've been in too many riots if you can't remember them all. He's got his finger on the pulse of the people, guys.
How many riots is too many riots, Pink? I want to know. That. So anyway, the whole point of this story was I was at Fenway this weekend against the Dodgers. Sox won. Mookie Betts came back. It was crazy. Fun. Like bases loaded, top of the 9th, and he was up to bat to as the winning run, and he flied out to end the game. But I took my kids to Fenway, and they just loved it.
Oh, that's so fun. And core memory right there. That you're a good dad for doing that.
For real. And there's this thing that they do at Fenway. Where the stadium sings Sweet Caroline. Maybe you've seen it on videos or something, but it's such a fun experience to be there and just be with like 30,000 people like screaming your head off singing this song. And the kids they'd never seen anything like it. And so I think that was,
it's
yeah,
very,
that was
not to be
daddy.
sacrilegious. I swear it's an office quote, but like, I feel God in this Chili's. I think of that every time I'm like sitting in one of these experiences where it's like, it's very powerful, the human connection. So
it is.
I love
it's not something you can watch.
You were feeling it in Fenway.
Yeah. No, it was great. So I have to say, so we're back now, and I'm, it was a great vacation, and I'm really tired, and I seem to like need to nap now every day. And I'm like, wait, wasn't the vacation supposed to be restful? Like what?
No, you need a vacation from your vacation. That's a thing. That's a thing.
It is.
You need to just schedule an extra like 3 days and then just sleep.
Oh, I know.
And then go back to work.
We drove back, like we had the 7-hour drive back from Boston on Sunday, and then I'm working yesterday. So that was exhausting.
Yeah. But it's kind of like when the kids go to bed. It's like, I need to sleep, but also I want to watch TV and have me time. It's hard to decide when to stop vacationing.
And it's hard. Like my kids are getting older now, and so they're going to bed later. And, for a while it was fine. Like the kids would go to bed at like 8. And then, my wife and we have our time, and that's great. But now they're going to bed at like 9, 9:30, 10. And my wife likes to go to bed early. So like, I don't know. It's a tough thing, to keep to manage a relationship, I think, with kids.
It is.
Oof, exhausting.
And I think that's where Reddit and a lot of online forums come in, and you can kind of, it's like, well, they're asleep, I guess I'm just going to go learn about short sales and a bunch of acronyms. I think at this point we should name this like the acronym show. Like we've got the SEC, ATS, NFTs.
I love to say I know all the TLAs.
Yeah,
the 3-letter acronyms.
3-letter acronyms.
It's weird
that's what our name's going to be called now. So
yeah, when I encounter one that I don't know, it's always shocking to me. It happens, but it's really rare. I've been in tech for a long time, and you get exposed to a lot of TLAs in tech.
And I think, like, even for me, as like I said earlier, I'm the resident smooth brain here, but I find that like the way my mind works, I can usually figure an acronym out or get kind of close, especially if I know that I'm looking at something finance or whatnot. I can kind of figure out what I'm
sometimes
looking at.
I just make it up and I try and sound authoritative. So,
that works too. Hey, you don't get 130,000 Twitter followers by not, shooting from the hip sometimes.
That's right. Sometimes you got to shoot first and ask questions later. All right. It's,
exactly.
You'll figure it out.
So that's what you were speaking of Twitter or X or whatever we're calling it. I'm actually in protest. I'm just going to continue to call it Twitter because that's what
calling it Twitter. The tweets. Actually, if you look at the URL, they've rebranded the whole thing, but they've not rebranded their URL. So you go to click post and it says to tweet on the URL. So
to tweet right at the top.
Yep.
Listen, he's a genius. Elon Musk is a genius. He's a business genius, and we just need to continue to invest and be quiet. But
that's what I've been told. He's a genius.
Elon, he has a lot of experience with the SEC and all the fun that we're gonna be talking about today.
Quite a bit of experience with the SEC.
He can't get enough. He keeps them he has them on speed dial, I think.
Yeah, well, or at least they have his lawyers on speed
dial.
They
have him, his team on speed dial. And his X thread probably pulled up daily.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's been a lot going on with like the NFT in the crypto space, and we've talked about that in the last several weeks. But TLAs. Really with NFT TLAs, that's just the name of this episode. The non-fungible token, the SEC says just the non-fun token. No more fun. No fun.
No more fun. You can't have fun. You crypto people had years of fun. No more fun.
We've let you guys run loose long enough. It's time to. It's like literally Gary Gensler's just walking around hitting people on the wrist with a ruler. It's like, follow the rules, and it's like, well, how? Okay, how? What are the rules? And it's just like, I don't know, figure it out. And he like sashays away, and it's like,
I'll just know Gary, if you break them.
Yeah, we'll let you know, and we'll fine you. You'll get the bill in the mail. So that's the Wild West. Investment contracts have been defined since the SEC's been around, but sometimes we need updates. We need to update things. And the creation of crypto and NFTs has we're in the Wild West right now when it comes to what defines an investment. And it's kind of hit or miss with what's been going through the courts and what the SEC's been saying. They're not exactly telling the same story. So on Monday, like I think it was yesterday at the time of recording this, there was another milestone in the SEC's question to exercise control over the rapidly expanding crypto space. And the commission charged LA-based media company Impact Theory, LLC, for selling unregistered securities in the form of non-fungible tokens, or NFTs. The SEC argues that Impact Theory's founders' keys, which it used to raise $30 million in capital, qualify as investment contracts. And if this is indeed an accurate assessment, that would place the onus on the issuer of this NFT to register as a security with the SEC, which, okay, I mean, that makes sense. But for any of those who have been paying attention, this should all sound very familiar. The action follows closely behind the flurry of lawsuits around the alleged issuance and or exchange of unregistered cryptocurrency tokens. We talked about Ripple just a couple of weeks ago. So let's see. The SEC's press release read that the order finds that Impact Theory encouraged potential investors to view the purchase of a founder's key as an investment into the business, stating that investors would profit from their purchases if Impact Theory was successful in its efforts. Among other things, Impact Theory emphasized that it was trying to build the next Disney, and if successful, it would deliver tremendous value to founders' keys purchasers. And the order finds that the NFTs offered and sold to investors were investment contracts and therefore securities. Accordingly, Impact Theory violated the federal securities laws by offering and selling these crypto asset securities to the public in an unregistered offering that was not otherwise exempt from registration. So, red tape.
Yeah,
where did all this red tape come from?
I'm trying to think as you're talking through all this. I'm trying to think in my head. Is there another example of a security that is not fungible? So, like, fungibility is a really interesting concept, and it's not something that I was even familiar with before I got into trading, and especially, in fact, into interlisted trading. So, I used to work on a market making desk. I wrote software that did interlisted arbitrage, and one of the trades was between the U.S. and Canada. Now, U.S. and Canada is interesting. I'm going off on a tangent here. I'm sorry, but sometimes I have something to add. So here we go. And the interesting thing between the U.S. and Canada is that a stock that is interlisted is fungible. And so if you are trading shares of BlackBerry in the U.S., and let's say you're buying in the US and you're selling in Canada, and at the end of the day, you end up with, being long 1,000 shares in the US and short 1,000 shares in Canada. At the end of the day, those net out, they're fungible. They're the same thing. They're like, they're identical. They can be exchanged for one another. That's what fungibility means. It can be exchanged. This can be exchanged for that.
Apples for apples.
Right, exactly. And so all securities, in my experience, are fungible, right? You've got maybe that's I don't know. I have to think about it. But certainly in the stock market, shares are fungible. There's no difference between the share I hold, the share you hold. We can trade it, and we are in no different position. For example, bonds are fungible. If I want to buy and sell a particular bond, it's the same thing as other bondholders of that same bond, right? We're not holding anything different. So this is funny because the way I see this particular issue, for example, the two Republican commissioners came out in this case, and they were like, "This is crazy. How can we call the NFT a security? We don't do that for other collectibles, right? Like baseball cards are not securities."
True. Sure, yeah.
Right. We all understand that. But in this situation, is the non-fungibility of it simply like a label, like a bullshit label to try and skirt securities laws? Because they're quite clearly raising money for their venture, and
lots of it.
Right, and promising a return based on the performance of the company to the holders of these NFTs. it really seems like they were using NFT here as a way to try and skirt securities laws. I mean, that's my read of it. You look at, and they settled with the SEC, and the settlement was, you don't admit or deny, which is a stupid part of these settlements, and I really disagree with it. But fine, you want to say, everyone wants to save on legal fees and court costs, so and not worry about the uncertainty of these cases. But the company got rid of the NFTs, compensated the people that bought them. So they call it a settlement, but it really does look like a pretty clear loss for the company and a victory for the SEC.
Right. Call it what you want. A rose by any other name will still smell like a settlement. So
exactly. Yeah. And they paid, millions of dollars in fines. This looks like a pretty significant decision.
10% of their capital that they raised was spent, just from a quick glance. It was a big chunk of money. But I heard someone earlier say that's the American way. You neither admit nor deny, and, move it through the legal system as fluidly as possible. But It's just, it feels gross. And that's where we do need real parameters set where everyone can follow the rules, and these assets can be easily defined. But it's just, it takes off so quickly. It's just like AI or anything else, or any other crypto coin. It moves ahead of regulation. So
or
it can get out of hand really quickly.
They're trying to also move around it. I mean, it's, we unearthed, and we've got this in the blog post, we unearthed a somewhat similar case when you had a group of NFT collectors that sued Dapper Labs, that, charging the company had netted hundreds of millions by selling unregistered securities, which was the set of collectibles called Top Shot NFTs, which was short clips of famous NBA highlights. And that's another good example where Dapper tried to get it dismissed. The district court did not agree with them. And even though they call what they have collectibles, if Dapper as a firm were to go away, the blockchain that they operate would also go away. And it's not like, well, I know Dave wrote the LeBron James rookie card, but I'd rather talk about the Shohei Ohtani rookie card, because my son is obsessed with him. He's really into Shohei Ohtani. Because I also think
give it a little more value, give it a bump.
Potentially the greatest baseball player we've ever seen. And you have that Shohei Ohtani card. It doesn't matter if Topps goes out of business, right? That card is still in existence. It's still
valuable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a pretty fundamental difference in collectibles, right? Like the commissioners talked about how they don't go after watch companies who try and boost their brand. But again, that's a physical, that company goes out of business, you still got a watch that tells time. Maybe it's even worth more when the company goes out of business because, now there aren't going to be any more. I don't know. It really feels like this is one of those things where everyone's confused. The SEC ain't helping, right? They're not helping alleviate this
Honestly,
confusion.
They're muddying the waters so much. Where 99% of the population probably doesn't understand even what an NFT is. They know that Logan Paul bought one for like $600,000, now it's $10, and that's that's what they know about NFTs. So I get it, but the use case for something like in the GameStop communities, we've been talking ever since GameStop came out with a wallet and started talking about entering the NFT space, how useful it would be to be able to have these assets in game, to be able to treat things like skins. And I mean, there are a lot of use cases where you would still have an item, a collectible, so to speak, aside from what was from the company that issued it. It's in game. So it would still hold value individually.
So that's the best use case of NFTs I've ever heard. Right.
I agree.
So far.
Yeah.
And
it makes sense. I mean, I can sell my
sufficiently decentralized network so that it can survive the disappearance of any one major party or even the creator, right? That's part of the promise of crypto. Supposedly, we still don't see that, right?
And that just you have to build the framework. We've got to come to an agreement somehow. The SEC has to be knowledgeable enough to come to an agreement that is agreeable to investors to define these spaces to where they're still attractive.
Yeah.
Because if, that's to have to register NFTs as securities and to start going through all of this, that's going to put a lot of, especially small-time creators, small-time businesses off. We're not going to participate in Web3. We're not going to participate in NFT space at all because we don't want the SEC on our back.
Yeah. And so let's look at like how the SEC continues to screw this up. Because just today, as we are recording this, literally, I think an hour or two ago, today's Tuesday, August 29th, Grayscale was victorious in court. So Grayscale had applied to convert their closed-end fund into an ETF, a Bitcoin spot ETF. And the SEC denied that, as they have denied pretty much every single spot ETF application so far. And the court ruled today, just an hour ago or so, that that decision by the SEC was arbitrary and capricious. And the reason that they ruled that way was because the SEC had approved a Bitcoin futures ETF. Yeah, that's the exact right look.
Is the left hand talking to the right hand here? Like, I don't think they are. What is happening?
Right. Let me explain a little bit here. Let's take a step back. So when the SEC approves an instrument to trade on a listed exchange in the US, where that security is not under the purview of a self-regulatory organization. Okay, so when you're a company, you go public on the NYSE or the NASDAQ, right? So your security is under the purview of a self-regulatory organization. And there are market surveillance teams at FINRA and at the exchange that watch over the trading of your security for market manipulation. Okay, forget it, what you think, whether they're good at it or not. That's not the point here. But they exist. Okay, let's just say that these teams exist. All right, and what the SEC has forever held with Bitcoin spot ETFs and other cryptocurrencies is that there is no surveillance agreement in place with a recognized authority, whether that's a foreign regulatory agency or a self-regulatory organization. Now, that has always been the case for years with these ETF applications. Now, the CME comes along and they say to the CFTC, hey, we're going to list a Bitcoin futures contract. And they do it because there's less oversight of the futures market than there is of the stock market. Fine, okay, that's a commodity, it's a futures contract, it's a different regulatory regime, whatever. However, given all the rejections of the spot ETFs, someone now, and I don't remember off the top of my head, but someone came along and said, hey, we're gonna list a Bitcoin futures ETF. It's not a spot ETF. You don't have to worry about market manipulation. This is based on futures contracts that the CFTC and CME are surveilling. You don't have to worry at all. And the SEC, for some ridiculous reason, said, okay, sounds good.
Good job, crypto bros.
It was insane. It was insane at the time. And all of us who understood, we were like, what are you doing? Like, it doesn't make sense. You can't approve that and not approve the spot ETF. It doesn't make sense. And that's exactly what the court said today. They're like, that doesn't make any sense. It's just right. Like you can't say that the market is not being surveilled for manipulation over here and say, oh, well, it's still not, but it's okay because, someone else is taking that on. It's crazy. Yeah.
And for those of you that are smooth brain like me, this is the part of The Big Short. These were the people that were betting on Selena Gomez. So Gary Gensler and the SEC, and they're all walking around and they're like, okay, you can bet on Selena Gomez. No, you can't. You can't. Go to jail. Like, they're literally not. Everyone has different rules, and it's crazy.
It's crazy. It's dogs sleeping with cats. Crazy. Like, what's going on here? So So this is not surprising that this happened. Honestly, it's like as soon as they approved that futures ETF, all of us, like all of us market structure geeks, all 5 of us on Twitter were like, well, forget it. They're screwed now. This is not going to work. And so they're screwed. And so now, that being said, a lot of people online today are saying, well, that means the ETF is approved. It's coming anytime. Bloomberg says, we could have one within a week. Now, I think that is, excuse me for my technical term, pure idiocy and bullshit. This is
good. Nice French.
This is the SEC has been given the case back. Basically, the court said you can't reject it for this reason, for the surveillance sharing reason, the surveillance agreement reason. So what do you think is more likely? The SEC is going to say, okay, I guess we've been wrong this whole time. Here are 30 Bitcoin spot ETFs. Or are they going to say, okay, well, we're rejecting it for this reason then, right?
Yeah, it will continue.
It will continue.
The just absolute insanity will continue. The chance that the SEC will tuck their tail between their legs and walk away.
Yeah.
Buy us a coffee, by the way.
So, I think those that are celebrating the grayscale victory are going to be disappointed. I think that this is not
short-lived, huh?
Yeah, I don't think this opens the door to Bitcoin ETFs. I think it's stupid because I do think either you revoke the Bitcoin futures ETF or you approve all of these spot ETFs. It doesn't make sense to have both. And this is, again, like the SEC not really having, I think, a vision for this market and an overall sort of coherent philosophy as to how crypto fits into our existing securities laws and regulatory framework. So, this we'll continue to see stuff like this until they stop playing catch up on market structure, which is, just honestly what they tend to do.
It's like they've had 80, 90 years and they're just now getting caught up on English. And they're like, you want us to go to AP English? And it's like, yeah, you've had 90 years to learn.
It's been 84 years.
It's just crazy. And I mean, how keeping up with the times is so important. And that's why it's important to have a voice like from We the Investors and from individual investors to say, this is where the market is at, Grandpa. Yeah. Get with the times,
Right. Like, and, frankly, like individual investors do want these ETFs, right? And when they don't have them, they end up getting exposure to these assets in less regulated ways. And, I think that that's also problematic and that the SEC needs to be considering that as they try and figure out, what should and shouldn't be considered a security and how to fold these things into the regulatory framework.
But I mean, we don't, somebody had to give the elephant at the zoo bubblegum for them to write the law that says don't give elephants bubblegum. Like somebody had to do the stupid thing for them to write the law that says people can't do the stupid thing, right? So right. We do need to have just a baseline of patience for as this does kind of flesh out.
Please don't pee on the electric fence.
Exactly. Well, that's what Cousin Joe did, and but Cousin Joe had to do it so that we know not to. So
thank you, Cousin.
Just
Joe,
something to keep in mind. Yes. Yeah. But that's just the importance of keeping up with the times and keeping up with the TLAs. So
yeah, that's right.
So what's next? What happens next? As we're kind of running out of time, and we could talk about this all day because it's just ever changing.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I don't know. I think
the ball is in the SEC's court. So
yeah, I think we're going to find out pretty quickly. I would be shocked, and hey, I've been shocked before. I would be shocked if we have a Bitcoin ETF, spot ETF, anytime in the next couple of weeks. I don't think there's a chance of that, but what do I know? I do think we'll see the SEC try to come out with a coherent approach to Bitcoin spot ETFs. I think that would be super useful, but if they're going to reject them, they have to find a way to reject them that is in line with having a futures ETF, or they have to reject, like repeal the futures ETF approval, which I don't even know how that would work. I assume it could work, but I don't know. I'm not a lawyer, obviously. But we can.
It also comes down to the SEC themselves agreeing on these things, right? Like I mean, you've got a lot of dissent within the SEC, just between commissioners and between, there's no agreement. It's almost like a corporate culture issue. I mean, I hate to call it that, but it's what is our mission at the SEC? And
they disagree with other parts, and certainly disagree with the commissioner or the chair on certain issues. And so, like I was saying, I am not a lawyer, but next week we have a lawyer coming on. We've had a few lawyers or law professors now, so we're going to continue that theme. My friend Lee
CYA,
Schneider,
that's the theme, right?
That's right.
CYA is the cover of this one.
Yeah, that's it. My friend Lee Schneider is going to join us. He is actually the general counsel for Avalanche. And he has been a crypto lawyer since that term was coined. He's really been in the space for a long time. I'm really looking forward to him sort of sharing his opinion. We've had a few people on here, I think, that are more aligned with our view that, much of many cryptocurrencies are securities, that the SEC needs to be involved in enforcing these rules. I think we're going to get a different perspective next week, so I'm really looking forward to that. I like to try and hear different perspectives and understand from smart people, where I might be getting things wrong. So I think we'll have a great conversation about our cryptocurrency securities, why or why not, and what are their thoughts? How does Avalanche see the world? I think that they are. I've said this before, I think they're the best tech out there in the crypto space. I think they're very promising, and I've been a fan for many years. So it'll be great to get Lee on here and to get his perspective.
That's great. Cutting edge perspective right here on Let's Talk Markets.
That's right.
Exactly. We've got quite a few new listeners too. So what's up to them? And we appreciate having you with us, and you get to hear it here first. So
welcome to the madness. We will
welcome to the Thunderdome.
Yeah.
Be sure to check out our blog too.
Yeah. And we'll have a blog post up on this episode, and we try and accompany every episode with a blog post to give you some more detailed thoughts. And of course, log on to Irvin Finance. There are great conversations happening right now. The community is really picking up. It's very cool to see, isn't it?
It is popping there. I'm so excited to log in every day and see all of these new posts from members. It's really, the quality continues to rise. It's awesome to see it grow.
It seems is that I need to go on vacation more, because that
when the cat's away, the mice will play.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. So don't worry. I will start traveling a lot. That's my promise to you.
That's your contribution. We appreciate how selfless of you. We appreciate that. More sand and sun just for us.
That's right.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us today, guys. And you always sign off with the Bob Barker sign off. Just a little quick shout out. Rest in peace to a legend.
The price is wrong, bitch. Rest in peace.
It is wrong. What a way to sign off. There's nothing else to say.
What can you say? All right. Join us next
Ding
time.
dong, the price is wrong.
Yeah.
Yep. Be sure to subscribe, check out our blog, check out the links that we have. We're available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and of course, Irvin.finance. So check us out, and we will see you next week. Take care, guys.
Thanks, everyone.